Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of FireFox Talks with me, your host, Fennick FireFox. I hope we're all having a wonderful day today. If you are actually listening to this podcast, if you have found this podcast on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, then I guess it means that this project has been going well enough that I've actually got things published. I have sat and recorded the same episodes about 10 times because I just was not happy with any of them. But this podcast is my new little project, something to keep me busy, something to keep me occupied, because there was a lot of big life changes that happened at the end of last year, and I needed something to be able to throw myself into, give myself a nice big distraction, and be able to just feel a bit more myself. And so I very quickly realised that I love being a furry and I love fursuiting, and I also talk way too much. So it just made sense to start a podcast because I feel like I spend most of my time just yapping my friends' ears off anyway, or talking at them rather than talking to them. This way I can just talk at my camera and pretend that there's people that give a shit about what I'm saying or care for my hyperfixations and deep dives into the most obscure things. But I basically just wanted to use this podcast as a place to put out my incoherent rants and ramblings, either about the furry fandom or about my life or just things that I enjoy. And the best part is as well, even if everyone in the world hates it, no one can stop me from shoving my mic in my mouth and hitting record and publishing it to the internet. Anyone and everyone can sit and listen to it and judge me, because that's the internet, I guess. So if you don't enjoy it, then that's a shame, because I think it's a blast, and I'm obviously going to think that what I make is great. So I'm just going to say it's a you issue if you don't enjoy it. So I guess I should probably tell you a bit about myself and the podcast. I feel like that would probably be beneficial to people. So we'll start off with the most important question. Who the hell am I? And why the hell am I talking to you? Well, like I said, I'm Fennick Firefox. I am a fox that enjoys fire a lot. One thing that I find quite funny, to be honest, about Fennick though, is the fact that he's a fox, right? Because growing up, the main sort of animal that I always really liked were dragons. The first character that I remember like looking at and being like, oh my god, yeah, was Jake Long from American Dragon. And he turned into a dragon, which was then even cooler than he already was. And he was this cool skateboarding guy with cool streaks in his hair. It was epic. And I remember being on Twitter a few months ago and I saw something about it. I just had one of those like moments where I was like, oh my god, American Dragon? And if I was to think of a cool animal, I'd always think of a dragon. Like, dragons are sick as I love them so much. So the fact that I then decided Fennick should be a fox, I don't really know where that came from. Like, I do love foxes. I didn't just randomly pick an animal that I don't like. But it does, like, when I actually think back, it does bamboozle me that I went for a fox and not a dragon. Maybe I just didn't think I was cool enough, to be honest. Actually, that's probably what it is. Fennick is already cooler than I am, but a dragon, I think, would just be taking the so that's too much power. That's too much strength. I wouldn't know what to do with that. I would straight up end up dying because I'd try and fly. So maybe it's a good thing that I'm not a dragon. But now that I'm talking about it, it's really just doing nothing but making me long for a dragon Sona now. As much as I think I would be a bit reckless as one, can't help but love them and just want one. Because I do have a dragon OC, but he's just a character. He's not like an actual Sona. And I'd made him with my friend Leo, who did the ref sheet and the design and all that fun art stuff that I can't do. He did all that for me, and we based him off of the Ninjago characters. So I try to incorporate all of their colours. So the red, blue, black, white, and oh my god, how many ninjas are there? Oh god, Leo's gonna kill me. We've got Zane, we've got Cole, we've got Kai, Jay. So is Leo. So Zane, Cole, Kai, and Jay are the main guys. So that's red, white, blue, and black. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm not going crazy. Because we do have more. Oh my god, I completely forgot about Lloyd. So where with... Oh wait, yeah, because Lloyd's green. Did I say someone else was green? Okay, so let's take that from the top, right? We've got Zane who's white. We've got Kai who's red. We've got Jay who's blue. Cole that's black. And then Lloyd is green. Because he's the big fancy guy. But anyway, as I was saying, I tried to incorporate all of those colours into my dragon's design. We gave him quite a complex design, to be honest. But he's cool as fuck. He really is. But I don't use him enough. Because he's just an OC rather than like an actual Sona. I don't know how others tend to view the whole Sona and OC thing, whether people just view them as one and the same or differently, but to me, a Sona is like a persona. So it's a version of me to some degree. Whereas any OCs or characters I make, they are simply just a character. They're not necessarily me, or they don't have aspects of me, or there's no parts of me that are necessarily represented in them. They're literally just a fun character that I made because I could, and therefore they don't tend to get used a lot. So the dragon just sort of sits there, waiting to be summoned at some point to get used. But now I just feel like I need to make an actual really sick, cool version of myself, because why the not? You know? Isn't that the joys of this fandom? We can just create anything and everything that we want because we can and because they look cool as So who knows? Maybe I will make a dragon Sona. Maybe there'll be some magical, mystical version of me flying about. I think there should be, to be honest. I think I just need to make that happen now, so we'll see how long that takes. But anyway, I was supposed to be telling you guys about why I like fire, which is a lot, actually, considering I set my tail on fire. All of these normal tails just weren't cutting it for me. They weren't cool enough. So I am the best FireFox in town. I can firebend, I can lightning bend. But to be honest, I really just spend most of my time running about like an idiot. I'm probably most known for throwing myself off of things, whether that's throwing myself down the stairs, or out of trees, or off of my loft bed. I like to get myself into some of the weirdest situations. There's nothing that I love more than seeing fursuiters getting up to... For example, dance competitions, they're just wild. I mean, I can't dance as it is in general, never mind in a fursuit, but it always amazed me just how much these people could do in their suits. And it always got me wondering what else you could do in a fursuit. And so the minute I got Fennick, I basically started treating him like a crash test dummy, to be honest. And the minute I put him on, I would just start throwing myself all over the place. One of the first things I ever did with my fursuit was throw myself down the stairs. And I very quickly realised that with the padding inside my suit, it made it easier, I guess, to not get hurt. You still have to be careful. You know, you could still break a leg or worse, your neck. But I just like to get up to the weirdest of... I like to make people just sit and think, how the did he do that? There's a lot of stuff that I do in fursuit that I don't even think I can do out of suit. But for some reason, when I put the fursuit on, I just go crazy. I remember one of the first conventions that I ever went to. It was a small cosplay convention called Acme in Glasgow. And I remember I had Fennick's head at this point, and I just stood there, all nice and quiet. Which, if you know me today, probably seems a bit weird to think of Fennick just standing there politely at a meet or a con or whatever, because it just doesn't happen now. After I threw myself down the stairs, it just became too clear that I could get away with a lot in my suit. And from that moment on, I just couldn't stand still. Most of the time, people will be standing talking to their friends and they just see this big giant orange blob run past them. I normally sit there and try and do some handstands or cartwheels or just run around, try to catch people. I really just can't sit still. I'm not going to lie, kinda low-key hate when I go to furry events and it's just a bunch of furries standing still. Because in the nicest way, I could have done that in my house. I didn't come to a meet, specifically a fursuit meet, to just stand and talk in my suit. Like, if anything, could we not just have stood and talked normally? Did we have to really put on the massive suits that make us deaf and blind? Or could we just have stood there as people and talked? It's such a small thing, but it really bothers me because I am not spending all of this money to get a fursuit made to just stand in it. I just don't see the point. And I know everyone's different and whatever, so don't bite my head for it. It's just an opinion, but I just don't see the point. Like, surely you want to have people notice your suit or have fun while in your suit, but the amount of folk that truly just go to things and stand, each their own, I guess. But anyway, the point I was trying to make was that Fennick just gets up to a lot of shit, to be honest. He'll run about constantly. He'll try and do a bunch of gymnastics that he has no idea how to do. He'll throw himself off of things or down things. He'll get himself into all sorts of sticky situations. But the main takeaway from Fennick is he's a right old hoot. He's an absolute blast, man. And I know that I'm probably a bit biased considering he's my character and I made him. But I think he's awesome. And it's for that reason that I thought he would be the perfect guy to start a podcast. Because he doesn't shut up. And he's got so much energy. And I don't know where the he gets it from, but it's there. And it's ready to go. He could sit and easily chat away for 2, 3, 4 hours. Probably about the same over and over and over again, but he can still do it. I mean, the amount of times that I've told the same, 5 anecdotes to my friends. And do you know what, though? Bless them, because they're such great pals to sit there and pretend that it's the first time until it's, the 20th time, and then they're like, Fennick, please, for the love of God, we all know how this ends. But most of the time, they're just like, wow, that's really interesting. So I wouldn't be surprised if during the episodes points get repeated, but maybe the magic of editing will make it seem like I managed to stick to one sort of train of thought. I highly doubt it though. So that's a little bit of info on Fennick's deranged personality and energy levels, I guess. But the reason that he's called Fennick Firefox and not Fennick Airfox or Earthfox or Waterfox, and that's simply because the Fire Nation is the best. I absolutely love Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's one of my all-time favourite shows. I love everything about it. I love the characters. I love the music. I love the artwork. I love it all. And I could speak about it for days, and I might honestly just do an Avatar episode because I really love it. I really could just sit and talk about it all day. I'd love to do that, to be honest. Just maybe I'll bring someone on the podcast and we'll just sit and chat Avatar for hours on end. It'll be the longest episode that I'll ever make. But do any of you guys listening enjoy The Last Airbender? I wonder what nation you guys would be out representing. You should leave a comment and let me know what nation you'd be repping, and if you had to pick a bending style, and not top or bottom, but if you had to pick a bending style, what would it be, and why? Tell me why it's better. I want to hear all your weak excuses as to why apparently water's better than fire, or air's better than fire. Because I will just say, if your answer isn't Fire Nation and you're not firebending, then you're missing out. But anyway, I've got myself off topic again. I wanted to be able to make Fennick in a way that had a lot of design aspects that come from Avatar itself. For example, his hair is bright blue, which is inspired by Aang's arrows, and obviously his big blue arrow on the top of his big bald dome. And he's also got a bunch of stripes that run from his head all the way down to his butt and round his neck, torso and his legs, and they're inspired by Appa's stripes that run from his head all the way down to his tail. And I'm just going to say now, if you don't like Appa, that is the biggest red flag that you could ever show me as a person. Appa and Momo could do no wrong, and if you don't like them, then we've got issues. But anyway, so that's why he's got the stripes. He's also a firebender and has a flame-tipped tail, because the Fire Nation's the best, and I love Zuko with all my heart and all my soul. And I'm just going to put it out there now, actually. I would do anything to be able to meet Dante Bosco. For those of you that don't know, Dante is the voice actor that played Zuko in Avatar, and I would probably cry if I actually got to meet him. But I would do anything to be able to meet this man. Although my friend Leo did just tell me that he does a live stream on Instagram every Monday. So I am very much going to be tuning into that now, all the time. And I'm going to challenge him to an Agni Kai. Because I remember he did a podcast with Janet Varney, who was the voice actor of Korra in The Legend of Korra. And I used to always sit and wish that I could be on that podcast and just be able to sit and chat with them, all things Avatar, speaking literally to Zuko and Korra themselves about Avatar. That would just be insane. And I got so jealous because they would bring fans on as guests to talk about the show and talk about episodes and characters and all of the weird animal mashups that they've got in that universe. I just always remember saying to myself in that sort of delusional way, when I get on this podcast, I'm going to challenge this man to an Agni Kai, and we'll battle it out then and there, and we'll find out once and for all who's the better firebender. But it never happened. I never got on the podcast. But now I'm thinking I'll maybe just harass him at his Monday Cinema Club. Like, maybe I'll go old school. And do you remember back in the days when you would be obsessed with like an artist or someone and you'd send them loads of fan mail in the hopes of getting back like a signed autograph or something that was 100% signed by any old Tom, Dick and Harry in the team rather than the celebrity you were fawning over. And I didn't do this, by the way. This was nothing. This was definitely not something that I did. I 100% did not have a very unhinged obsession with Jessie J as a child. And I definitely did not send her fan mail. And I definitely did not get a signed autograph back and cry my eyes out and stick it to my wall for God knows how long. That didn't happen. That is not why I know that that's a thing that people did. Not at all. Although I do maybe have a friend that did it. And when they sent fan mail, they got a signed autograph back. But they had reused the stamp that I had used to send out the fan mail. And I just remember sitting there thinking, how cheap are you? I thought you were some rich celebrity and you had to steal my gran stamp. And by my gran, I mean my friend's gran, because this didn't happen to me, because I didn't do this. But the point is, I will one way or another find a way to challenge Dante/Zuko to an Agni Kai. And then when he does accept, we will find out once and for all who is the better firebender, Zuko or Fennick. The good thing is, once he accepts, whether it's in a week, whether it's in a year, doesn't matter, because he's accepted it and it'll happen. So, hope that happens. But anyway, what the hell was I talking about? We had the hair, we had fire, we had the hair, we had the stripes, we had the fire. What else has he got? Oh, he's got a little trans flag in his ears. Which, fun fact, Fennick isn't actually trans. He just really fetishizes them. No, I thought if I can make a character, if I can make it be absolutely anything I want, then I may as well make it into everything that I want to be and just live vicariously through this big orange fox. So Fennick isn't trans, but he does have a trans man in him, so that doesn't sound great. Okay, anyway, moving on. Don't really think there's much else to him, design-wise. He's orange, got a tail on fire, he's got stripes, he's got blue hair, he's a fox, he can firebend. He's just pretty awesome, to be honest, and he's a pain in my ass. The podcast itself, if you want to know what that's about, so do I. I don't really have like a main theme, I guess, or a main sort of repertoire of things to talk about. I really just like to talk. I like being a furry, and I like talking about furry stuff a lot. Sometimes I like to get a bit deep with it. Sometimes I like to get stupid with it. And so why not just put that out there and find people that will enjoy the stupidity that I create? So if you're looking for some sort of structured, informational or educational podcast on the furry fandom, this is not it. There will be episodes that are probably more educational and more informative on certain topics, But that's not the main goal of this podcast. And mainly because I don't think I've got enough experience in this fandom to give out advice necessarily, or to try and educate on specific topics within the fandom when I myself probably don't know a lot. However, unlike a lot of people out there, I do my research. If there is something that I'm not clued up on, or I have no idea what people are talking about, then I'm not really going to put my tuppence worth in. I'll go and get a bit more information on the topic and find out what my own thoughts and feelings are on it before I go and speak to other people or get someone else's opinion, because I don't necessarily want to be swayed by any opinion. I want to be able to learn from my own experiences and form my own opinions, which I think a lot of people in today's world should probably learn to do. I suppose if you haven't figured it out already, this podcast is simply just me talking about everything and anything. So it could be something really big and important that's happening, and I'm like, oh my god, guys, you just have to know about this. Or it's literally just a bunch of and me just literally saying the first thing that comes into my head. So if you enjoy some random Scottish furry ramblings, then this podcast is probably for you. And if that's not your thing, then just off. There's no point in sticking around just so you can leave some hate comments saying how shit it was. Because what you have to remember as well is I'm the one that's recording and editing and publishing these, so I know they're Some episodes are going to be better than others, naturally. Some days I might not be feeling up to recording, some days I might be busier than others, might not be well. There's a whole host of reasons of why episodes could be good or bad. But I do have a Discord server specifically for constructive criticism and for people to be able to interact and take part in the podcast. So if there is anything that you're hearing, or if there's any constructive criticism that you'd like to give me for future episodes in order to make them better, then you should totally join the Discord. It's the FireFox Talks Discord. There will be links everywhere, but I can't lie, I don't fully know how all of the podcast features work, so I don't know if I can have a link directly with the podcast, but you will be able to find it on all of my social medias, which is Fennick_Firefox, on absolutely every platform, on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Blue Sky, Tumblr. If you can think of a social media platform and you want to know if I'm on it, Fennick_Firefox. And if nothing shows up, then I ain't there. Because for some reason, no one in the entire planet wanted Fennick_Firefox. Which I think's a bit rare, to be honest. Because I don't know about you, but anytime I've tried to make a username in the past, it's always a case of, nope, sorry, 4,000 other people have got that username, add 10 digits to the end of it so that it can be yours. So I was very shocked to find that across every single platform, it just wasn't taken. So it should be easy enough to find me. But I believe this is where we're going to end off our first episode. There's not too much for me to talk about in terms of an introduction episode, apart from letting you know about me and the podcast. So if you enjoyed it, please make sure you leave a like and let me know what you thought about it. Episodes will be coming out every Wednesday at 3 o'clock and will be available on Spotify and YouTube and hopefully Apple Podcasts too, once I figure that out, because it's just confusing me, to be honest. Next week's episode I am pretty hyped for, because it is all about conventions, because when next week's episode drops, it will be about a week until I get my ass to ScotiaCon. So very much in the convention spirit, very much looking forward to getting into a FurryCon again and seeing everyone. So if you are interested in hearing some of my convention pet peeves, and maybe if you're a first time con goer, if you want some tips and tricks or a little bit of advice on what to expect at your first con, then make sure you tune in next week, because I'm very excited for it, and I'm very excited for con, and I'm just very excited. But thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you at the same time next week. So until then, I've been Fennick Firefox, and this has been FireFox Talks.